Hello and welcome everyone to the September monthly update. At the August update, I had hoped that we would be down to out of lockdown, and most of the country is down to level two, so a bit more freedom. But at the time of recording, Auckland is hoping to be down to level three later this week. The caveat to that is Waikato might be going up from level two to level three because of some new cases that have popped up there. What does that change for Saturn? Nothing really. Christchurch office is at level two, back to their physical office, and clients can go and have a meeting with their advisors in person. The Auckland team stays working remotely under level three. We would be down. We'd be going back to offices only once we are down to level two, and we'd be following obviously strict protocol per regulation at the time. Does not affect our ability to work. We have been working quite seamlessly through the lockdown, and we continue to do so. In terms of the global view, we still believe the world is moving past COVID, despite the surge in Delta variants in quite a few places in the world. An example is the UK recently announced that they might not be returning to a strict lockdown ever again, even if there is a surge in Delta cases or some other variant. Singapore is another one, which is going through a surge in Delta cases, but has decided not to report the total number of cases, but only focus on hospitalizations or severe cases and obviously deaths. So I think this is the new world that we have to, learn to live with. This is just a new thing that we have to, face and get on with our normal lives accordingly. The good thing is vaccines seem to be really helping against severe disease and deaths. So I do believe everyone should get vaccinated. For those of you who haven't been vaccinated as yet, please do get vaccinated. They are the best chance to avoid, hospitalizations and deaths against COVID. So the sooner we get to that herd immunity, the easier it would be for the government, I suppose, to ease up on the restrictions. That aside, what's been happening in the financial markets in September generally, historically, hasn't been too supportive for financial markets, and this September does not seem to be any different. It just seems to be financial markets seem to be pulling back a little bit, but the main theme that I want to touch upon is the policy support from central banks. So there has been, rumors about central banks mulling over a pullback in their extraordinary policy support by tapering their quantitative easing programs. To mention the most prominent bank here, the US Federal Reserve, the most prominent central bank in the world, is expected to announce the pathway towards tapering its quantitative easing. So what does that all mean? So when in quantitative easing, central banks purchase bonds. What that does is it provides a lot of cash into the market, also known as liquidity, but it also pushes down yields, or in simple terms, interest rates. Now, why do they matter, the interest rates? Assets are valued based on their future earning ability. So the future income that they will be providing is brought in today's value terms by discounting it using a factor which is driven by interest rates. So future cash flows divided by a discount factor, which is driven by interest rates. So once interest rates are expected to go up, that factor becomes bigger, and the value of those future cash flows is then relatively smaller. So longer dated assets on the fixed interest side, that means the bonds that would be maturing well into the future will get affected more as a result of this tapering. Compared to shorter dated bonds. Typically, government bonds have longer duration, longer maturities than corporate maturities, corporate bonds. On the equity side, think of companies that may not be generating a lot of cash today, but have a huge potential or perceived potential to generate a lot of income going forward. So those companies' share prices might be in for a little bit of a pullback as a result of this tapering compared to companies that might be well established and could be generating a lot of cash in present times. Now, one more thing that I would want to talk about here is that once this tapering is out of the way, this whole process, the fundamental view remains the same. It comes down to earnings. If companies can generate earnings and they announce earnings which are as per expectations or beat the market expectations, then share prices shouldn't really be affected much. They might continue to reflect the valuation of those future cash flows. But if the earnings guidance or earnings announcements do not meet the expectations, then the share prices can be in for a pullback once this period of tapering is set aside. Last bit that I want to touch upon is somebody asked me about, well, a lot of people ask me about property prices, and I won't go into too much detail to, not make this video too long. Property prices, I do expect that the coming, spring, summer season is going to be positive for property prices, but not to the magnitude that we saw last year. But once we go down to winter next year and onwards, I feel the property prices might stagnate, maybe even pull back. Really depends on how much the mortgage rates go up and the bite of the tax laws and the various regulations that have been put in place by this government start to have an impact. But more on it in probably a separate video in more detail, or my views. But until then, until the next monthly update, please take care, stay safe, and if you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch. If there's a specific topic you want me to address at the next update or have a separate video on it, please do let me know. I would really love to get some feedback. All right, take care. Bye.